We talked about the job and the career. We talked about the differences between those two continuums. If you're looking for a job, it's short-term focused, it's focused on earning money, low career growth. You do the bare minimum, you don't have to do the extra. You're uninterested in the values of the company, you're looking for a new job, never enough time in your day. But when it is a career, it's very different, right? If it's a career, it's long-term focused, it's focused on gaining experience, high professional growth, you go above and beyond. I shared a story of when I had to move to Istanbul for work. I had 2 kids, my 2 sons are somewhere here, but I have 2 kids. And at the time, my youngest son was 7 months old. And my husband didn't want to move to Istanbul with me and the job. And I'm very blessed to have a very understanding partner, but also a very understanding mother-in-law. When I told her what I wanted to do, she said, go follow your dreams. So for 3 years, I was working in a different country without my kids or my husband. Now, they used to come and visit, and I used to go and visit them. But I'm not going to do that for a job. A job is a paycheck. A career, you need to think, what am I willing to sacrifice? And is that sacrifice worth it? Because when you make the biggest sacrifice for a job, you have a bigger regret. When you make the right sacrifice for a career, you've got long-term benefits, right? And the one thing I want to mention here is, just because you want a job and a career and not a career doesn't mean it's wrong. The first disclaimer I want to make is not everybody will have a career. And it is absolutely fine. Because some people just want to pay the bills. I don't want to be passionate about it. I don't want to sacrifice my time or my time with my family for this. I just want a paycheck at the end of the month. And that's fine. And that could be because your passion lies elsewhere. It doesn't mean you don't have ambition. You just don't want a career. Now, the moment people understand where they sit on the job-career continuum, decisions become easier. And more importantly, you learn how to manage the expectations of people around you. I always use an example of a lady I worked with many years ago in a previous life. She did an absolutely amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. And one time, there was an opening in the department for a manager. So one of the directors had a meeting with her saying, you're doing an amazing job. I want to promote you to a manager. You know what she said? I don't want it. I like to come at 9, finish my work by 5, go home, be with my kids, watch TV. I'm only doing this for a paycheck. I see what the other managers go through, and it's not me. That's very empowering. Some people will look at that and say, what's wrong with her? But really, that's empowering because she knew exactly where she sat on this continuum. And then I talked about selling yourself. I think a lot of us sometimes we think that in a work environment, we're just doing a job, we're doing the employer a favor. No. You're giving service, they're paying you for that service. How do you sell yourself in a work environment? How do you brand yourself in a way that you can actually articulate the value you bring to an employer? So we talked about that. I talked about how you figure out what gives you joy. That's where your passion and interest lies. What am I good at? That's your skills and strengths. And where is this needed? Job or career? If it's a job, you know where it's needed. If it's a career, you know what to do. And I talked about that if you can't articulate your brand statement, if you can't tell someone on the other table what you do, imagine you're trapped in an elevator or you're in a lift and the lift is going down and the lift ride is 30 seconds. And right next to you is someone who can change your life, someone who can give you that job you want, someone who can give you that opportunity you want. Can you articulate your value in 30 seconds? How many of you can do that? When people ask me what I do, I say that I'm a talent enabler who is passionate about helping people reach their potential and giving them tools to empower themselves. I don't tell people I'm a HR vice president. Because let's face it, if I'm in the elevator 30 seconds, the guy's thinking hiring and firing, right? So we talked about brand statement and how you can work up your brand statement. We went through an exercise. I gave an example of this and said, I'm a forward-thinking logistics executive who believes in building relationships, going above and beyond to deliver innovative solutions to global companies seeking efficiency and growth. This is actually a brand statement exercise that we used in my current company. This person is customer service. But look at how powerful that sounds, right? And then I did this one where I said, I am a hygiene specialist who believes in creating an environment to enable performance for organizations seeking to promote a clean and healthy workplace that enables creativity and growth. You go for an interview and you say that you're getting the job as a cleaner. Because here's a cleaner that knows what they can impact. And I did this as well. I'm a passionate security personnel who believes in ensuring those around me feel welcome, secure, to go about their activities for companies seeking a welcoming, secure environment for their employees, customers, and the world around them. It's a security guard. Right? As they say where I come from in the world, the difference between plantain chips and bakery is packaging. That's what they say where I come from in the world. This is all about packaging. This is all about your branding. The moment you understand your branding, it changes the way you think. Because each time you read that, you reflect it to yourself. It changes how you dress, how you talk, the people you will associate with, the places you will go to, how you interact with people. Before you can sell this to someone else, you have to sell it to yourself. But if you don't know what you're selling to yourself or what you have to sell, then how do you make an impact in this big world out there where everyone's looking for a job, right? We went through this exercise on the day. I walked people through how to do a brand statement. And then we come to the day, the exciting part. So I had a different second part to this. And I love Harrison. I love him because even though I have all this experience and everything else, he's very good at giving me feedback. And Harrison said that, you know what, Nina, I think I want you to talk about something different today. And I think you were right, Harrison. What I'm going to talk about today is going to have a bigger impact than what I initially wanted to talk about. So the objective is I'm going to take you through a journey in terms of how you can emphasize your value and actually get a job, right? For those of you that are trying to look for a job, for those of you that are in a job right now and you're trying to look for something else, one of the things and the unique things in my experience is starting from the bottom, working it all the way to the top. I have gone through a lot of these journeys. But apart from that, I am uniquely placed in a HR environment where I have the cheat notes. I have the insights to what is it that makes a candidate stand out. How do you connect? So we're going to talk about getting through the door, which is the CV, preparing for your interview. And that is a big part. We're going to talk about the interview. And then I'm going to go into how you seal the deal. So by how do you seal the deal? How do you even start this process? The process starts from what is on that piece of paper? What am I selling? Right? That's where it starts from. How long do you think it takes an existing company or HR to disregard your CV the first time you put it in front of them? How long? First? 5 minutes? Someone else? It's going to be an interactive section. We're going to talk. 1 minute. It's an average of 90 seconds. 30 to 90 seconds. That's what it takes for a prospective company to look at that paper and say, no, thank you. How long do you think it takes an agency? It takes them 10 to 30 seconds. That is how long a company goes, anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds. For me, I do it in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, I can tell whether I want to interview this person or not. Maximum it takes is a minute and a half. For agencies, they do it in 10 to 30 seconds. And I can see you all looking at me going, why? Right? You're all looking at me going, why? I spent like a week and a half trying to prep this CV, and you tell me someone is looking at it for just 30 seconds? Why? I'm going to give you the why. I'm going to tell you why this happens. First thing is candidate picture. So in the UAE, a lot of the CVs, you have to put your picture in it, right? In Europe and other markets, it's not necessarily allowed, but in the UAE, you have to put your picture in it. Don't put your picture in it, the chances of getting a call back is very slim. That's the reality of this market. Now, what's wrong with the picture? And I have examples of some acceptable pictures and some pictures that can side you off track. That one. Man, dude, you have an attitude. Really? There's no sunshine where you are? Can't give me a smile? Something? That's not gonna go. That's not gonna wash. Now that's what I'm talking about. It's not about the suit or anything. He could have been wearing a t-shirt. But doesn't that say, I'm inviting? Doesn't that say, I would not make your life a nightmare as a manager? That one says, I'm going to give you attitude. Every time you ask me to do something, I'm going to say, why? Right? It's so funny what a picture can do. Because people judge by first impressions. Now, the reality is he could be the harder worker. He could be the pain in the backside employee. But how are you going to know? All I'm looking at is a picture. It's blurry. What is this guy? I mean, there's no clear picture on your phone. You couldn't take it with an iPhone or a Samsung. Why are you going to send me the faded one? That tells me you don't have attention to detail. If you think that's the right picture for an interview, as blurry as it is, you have no attention to detail. I have no time for you. That's a nice one. It doesn't even have to be a frontal. You can look on the side but smile. Show me that there's an inviting interaction. I can't even see your face. Now, if I was a modeling agency or a hairdressing company or a barber shop, okay, that could work. But if I'm none of those things, don't even know who I'm hiring. Who knows? His haircut might have changed. Is that the same guy that's going to turn up for the interview? I don't know. Again, that's more like it. Smiling, inviting. That's more what we want to see. Now, that one, I'm not sure what job you're applying for, but we don't have it here. That's a beautiful picture for social media, or depending on the work environment, maybe if you're applying for an actress or something, maybe. Now, that's an amazing picture. I'm not sure that's the picture I want here. Because if you put that on a CV before you meet me, every day I'm going to be having dress code conversations with you. Right? This is how HR agencies and people judge just based on the picture. So I can tell you a picture, I've already made a decision, 5 seconds. Again, go back, look at your CV. Look at that picture and ask yourself, if I was the one hiring and someone put that picture on that CV and I didn't know that person, would that picture say hire me? You have to ask yourselves. Are you selling the right brand for the company or the job you want to try and attract? This is the one I really love, hate, ridiculous email addresses. So right underneath the picture, let's get through the picture, then we see your contact details and it says sexyyemi@yahoo.com. How are we even going to start? Huh? Or handsome Steve at 123. I I don't even know where to go from there. For the fact that you think that's an appropriate email address for a job situation, that's better. Yemi underscore Smith at yahoo.com. It can even be Yemi12345. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, you have to ensure, is this an appropriate message? This is why people chuck out CVs before you even start having the conversations. Lack of brand statement. That first thing they read at the top that tells them about you. I go back to this. We had a session on this. I think the church recorded it. If you want to know more about it, watch the video. This is very powerful because this is how you get through the door. This is how you sell yourself. Your brand statement should be in your head, and your brand statement should be that first thing they see on your CV, should be on your LinkedIn. It should be consistent with who you are saying you are. And then inaccurate dates. So if we get through all of that and all of those things are good, we start to look at the dates, right? Even before we start to read the jobs you did, we start looking at the dates. So the first one, April 2012 to September 2013. Great. July 2013 to May 2016, were you doing two jobs in between that? Because one says September, the other one says July. And then you now have September 2017 after May 2016 to October 2018. The beauty that I see sometimes with people that submit their CVs, particularly people that have a gap in their career, and the gap could be you went back to school, you became a mom, you started a business, whatever that gap is. Here is a tip. The moment you don't address the gap, you make the gap an issue. As simple as you put the date, you said breaking career, traveled the world, had kids, went back to school. Whatever that gap is, the moment you don't address it, you make it an issue. Because we can see it, we know how to count dates, right? Address it, and you can address it in your cover letter. You can address it as part of your opening statement, but address that gap. Because we can see it. And sometimes many CVs are thrown off because of the gaps. Formatting. Now I know we all love beautiful, lovely formatting, but the aim of a CV is to be able to read it. If I can't read it, I don't know what you're saying, right? All this formatting is really beautiful, but I can't read it. So what use is it? All I know is you know how to use beautiful fonts. I always tell people to stick to, either you stick to Arial or Calibra, just the simple ones to read. I don't even tell them to use News Times. These two are the proper acceptable ones. Don't mix so many fonts, except you're trying to make a heading or call emphasis to a particular thing you worked on. So if you're using a bold and a normal writing, that's fine. Use the bold to call out a heading or call out a particular thing, but keep it clean. Use bullet points. I need to know when one thing stopped and the other thing ended. And bullet points also helps you reduce your story, right? It's a bullet point. Boom, I worked for this company as XYZ manager. Achievements, boom, boom, boom. Not, I did, I managed a team of 20 people, and then I also did finance, and I was also responsible for HR. I ain't got time to read that. I'm telling you honestly, as HR and as recruiters, the first thing we do is we scan through it very quickly, and only after you pass that scan do we go into the details of what you've written in there. And then align the text. Some are swimming this way, some are starting in the middle. Align the text. It's easier on the eyes to read, and it's easier for the person to see and drop the notes of what is really important. I love this War and Peace. Story, story, story. Try and keep it simple. Your CV should not be more than 2, maximum 3 pages. I personally prefer 2. I even have now learned how to put my CV on 1 piece of paper. Because the CV is not meant to replace the conversations. The CV is meant to draw you to want to have a conversation with me. I don't sell it on the CV. The CV opens the door. Where you do the selling is the actual interview. But then you need to get the actual interview. And if the CV is not getting you through the door, you're never going to have that opportunity, right? So I always say not War and Peace, not too many stories. If you have over 10 years experience of work, just start putting the dates, the company, and the position. Don't start putting, and I did this. There's no bullet points. Because to be honest, how many of you are using the phone you used 10 years ago? You get the point? Doesn't matter what you did 10 years ago. If you have experience, I'm really looking at what you've done in the last 3 to 5 years. Does that make sense? Just bullet point it. I did this, and then there's a certain point you get to where you're like, I'm not even going to mention that. Because it's not relevant, it doesn't matter. Call out your achievements. Make sure those things that you're most proud of, those things that you have achieved a lot of, are called out on that CV. When the person is reading it, they can see it immediately, pick it up and say, oh, this person did this, they did that. I can attest to the skills they have is exactly what we're looking for here. And then including too much personal information is not really necessary. I don't want to know your sex, your height, your weight, your religion, your political. I really don't. All I need to know is your name, how to contact you. I don't want to know if you're married with 2 kids. And don't get me wrong, I see that sometimes in people's CV, but the smart ones, what they do is they put it at the end, at the bottom on the last page. It's not the first thing I see. Stop you from getting the job either. And I always tell people, keep that away because it makes for interesting conversation during the interview. If you fill all that information in there, when the interviewer says, tell me about yourself, what are you going to say? What else is interesting? Right? So make sure you sell it. Make sure on that piece of paper you can sell it. And by that I mean, don't write claims you can't defend. Right? I think sometimes when we're desperate for a job, we put a lot of things there that we know is Mickey Mouse, is smoke and mirrors. We can't defend it. But if you get called for an interview, you're going to have to defend it. So even if you want to do a Mickey Mouse trick on your CV, write checks you can cash. Right? Write checks you can cash. Don't use language you can't incorporate into your daily standard. So, you read through someone's CV and they say, you know what, I'm very good at managing ambiguity. I'm very good at managing ambiguity. And then during the interview, Doesn't even seem like you understand the word ambi, let alone guity. Use language that you can defend. It is very important. Because that CV, like I said, the scanning is 30 seconds. You're going to be sitting down in front of that person. Make sure the language in person is relatable to the language on the CV. And I'm not saying don't train yourself. But if that's what you want to be talking about during your interview, then you have to master that lingua. You have to go around for the week or the day before the interview talking to people using that language. Because these are the tricks that we look for. Somebody sitting in front of you in an interview, you look at the CV and look at the person again and saying, this person isn't you. Right? So preparing for the interview, and I think this is where a lot of people sometimes get it wrong. You get the interview, you feel, oh, yeah, I've got the interview, I'll just go there tomorrow and talk. No, there's a prep. Research the company. The thing I hate the most when I interview people, and it totally turns me off them as a candidate, is when I tell them, so why do you want to work for us? And it's a trick question. I don't tell them, tell me about us. I say, so why do you want to work for us? And they say, well, and because you're an international, international company. Okay. I say, what else? Now, someone who's done their homework will know that where we are based, where our headquarters is, and all of that. Understand the company mission and vision. It's very important. Companies take this personally. Go on the internet. There's that tool called the internet. It's not just for Facebook. It's also for researching and trying to figure out how we can actually empower ourselves. Go on the internet, research the company, look for their mission and vision. Look for how many years they've been in business. How long has that company been in business? These are just basic things, the minimum that you should do to be able to convince someone that you're the person for that job. Because if you can't even research me, how do I know that you're diligent in the day-to-day things you're going to do for me? Right? Understand their values. And in the interview, you might be like, you know what, the reason I wanted to work for you is because one of your values says you care about your employees. That really touches me. And it doesn't matter whether you are applying for a blue-collar, white-collar job, whether it's a cleaning job, whether it's a security job, whatever that job is. At the end of the day, you're not the only person applying. There's probably 100 of other people applying. So it doesn't matter whether you value the job or not, you need the job. So you need to get that job. It's about how do I stand out from the rest, right? Any big positive changes that the company has had in the last year. They merged with another company, they bought another company. You'll be shocked, the person that's interviewing you might not even know this information, but that impresses them. Whatever that big thing is. And then at least know where their HQ is, right? Even if you don't know anything, just say, oh, I read on your website, your headquarters is in the US or your headquarters is in China. It's quite interesting, it's truly global. Or your headquarters is in Abu Dhabi, but you guys are based in Dubai. That will be good. I like opportunities in both locations, right? And then, if possible, research the person interviewing you. Now, they might say it's the manager of procurement. Go to LinkedIn, type the company name and manager of procurement, it will come up. If they give you the person's name, search the person's name. I remember back in the day when I used to go for interviews when I just started my career. I used to do a lot of these things. But there was also one thing. I had two people that I always went for interviews as. I was either Halle Berry or Beyonce. In reality, depending on this, determined whether I was going to be conservative Halle Berry or whether I was going to go glamorous. Just in the way I looked, not the way I dressed. I always dressed the same. but it determined what personality I was going to channel. The only way you can do that is when you do this, because it gives you more insight about that company than you had. And then the interview, I love this quote. I don't know who said it, but I loved it. Job interviews are like blind dates. First impressions count, awkwardness can occur, the outcome is unpredictable. Right? So preparing yourself. First of all, your appearance. Excuse me. It doesn't have to be a suit and a tie. Whatever works for you, but make sure it's clean, make sure it's relatable. First of all, your appearance counts. It is one of the more important things, exactly like the picture on the CV. That is how people will base and assess you. Have a list of examples you want to share during the interview, because whether you like it or not, they're going to ask you about examples. Tell me of a time when how did you, what happened when. So they're going to share all of those with you. They're going to ask you those questions. So have your list of examples ready with you. Your voice. The one thing that interviewers hate is people interviewing with a monotone, right? A monotone. And what does that mean? They say, oh, so tell me about yourself. My name's Nina. Where's the life? I am so excited to be here today. I really want to get this job. No expression. And sometimes some of it is cultural. So don't forget, cultural dexterity is very important, because culturally, you don't smile all the time. Work seems to be a very formal, serious place. And it's not because you're trying to be rude. But the reality is, you're interviewing with someone and they say, tell me about yourself. You'll be like, well, I'm Nina and I'm passionate about what I do. That already starts. So you need to prepare yourself. Start to talk, rehearse it, rehearse how you're going to talk, how you're going to express yourself, inflect your tone. It's very important. And then know your CV inside out. I'm going through the CV during the interview, and then I'm asking the person, so tell me about what you did in this company, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm pulling the pages up. Did you do it or you didn't? So whatever CV you're submitting, you have to know it inside out. You have to be able to send that message in a smooth conversation without having to look at the page. Map your route to the interview. Make sure you know where it is. Don't guesstimate it. Check online. These days, all you have to do is go online to look at the company name, and even if you look at it on Google Map, and then you change it to the map view or the satellite view. If you change it to the satellite view, you can actually see the building. Map your route, know what the building looks like, so you don't get there all flustered and sweaty because, well, you had to get here in a rush, or it took you a while to find the building. Map it out. And then again, if possible, research the person interviewing you. I said it in the first part, and I'm saying it here again, it is critical at every level. Then, how long does it take to create a first impression during an interview? Who can guess at this? How long? It actually takes longer. It takes 120 seconds, 2 minutes. We give you the first minute because we think you're nervous. By the second minute, we've decided whether you're nervous or not. We always say people are nervous, so calm down. So we give you the first minute. By the second minute, it's like, okay, no. How long does it take an interviewer to decide if you're a potential candidate for the job? 5 minutes. Within the first 5 minutes, I know if I'm going to shortlist this person. But however, I have to be polite. As HR, I'm a brand for the company. So I will talk to you for 35 minutes and we will chatter and smile and banter, but you're not getting a call back. I'm just being polite. I decided that 5 minutes into the conversation. That's a reality. You've either got me in 5 minutes or you haven't. I'll be polite. We can even banter for an hour, but you're not coming for a callback. So the interview structure, and this is something I really want to share, it's an insight of how HR and a lot of companies interview people. And there's actually a structure to it. A lot of people think it's just conversations, but there's a structure to it. It starts with the welcome. The welcome, the small chat, idle chat here or there. And then we go into scoping. And the scoping, we're trying to figure out which route we're going to take. If the candidate has limited work experience, we go through a different line of questioning. If the candidate has more work experience, we go through a different line of questioning. Less work experience, we focus on education and training. So we ask you specific education questions, job history of anything you've done. Have you ever worked before? What was that work experience like? And then we move into what we call behavioral competency questions. How do you deal with certain scenarios? Have you ever experienced this before, and what was your reaction to it? Now, if you have work experience, we also do the same. We go to current role questions, likes, dislike, previous jobs, why did you leave? You need to have an answer to why you left jobs. And you have to have a convincing answer. If you left because the opportunity was better, you say the opportunity was better, not because it paid more. The one thing we don't like to hear is you left a company to another company because the salary was better. We are both scoping each other. Like I said, it's a date, right? It's a blind date. A blind date, you don't find out all the faults of the other person on the blind date. Definitely not on the first date, right? So you don't say, well, I left because there was more money. You left because the opportunity was better. And have an example of what extra responsibility you had in the new job that you didn't have in the old job, right? That's what you do there. We still also go into behavioral competency questions, but the behavioral competency questions are more focused on work scenario. So tell me about a time when this happened in the office. How did you deal with it? The reason we ask those kind of questions, and I'm sure some of you'll be like, why are they asking this? We're trying to get through the answers, whether you have the right behaviors, logical thinking that actually translates into the organization you're about to work for. It's not just about whether you can do the job, it's also about how you do the job. And then we do the winding down, which is we look at circumstances, particularly of the role, needs of travels, we open to candidate questions, and then we clear the next steps and we close. This is what we do as HR. You have the cheat notes. At every point of this, you need to have a strategy on how you respond to this. Right? Now, scenario and competency-based interviews, what do they look like? So scenario questions, these are questions that show that you demonstrate certain behaviors while actually delivering on the job. And I'll give you an example of one. So this one is about, and everything is tied to something that the organization is looking for. This one is looking for continuous improvement or continuously improve. The question says, describe a time when you needed to share information that would benefit the team group. What did you do? What was the result? Which one of these answers do you think is the wrong answer? I'm going to read it. I'll read the first one. I always share information openly as I feel that is the only way to work as a team. The one up there, during my last role, there was a day I got an email about a minor incident in the office. My manager was on a business trip, and by the end of the day, I could spin it around immediately. The last one there, I always share information openly as I feel that is the only way to work as a team. During my last role, there was a day I got an email about a minor incident in the office. My manager was on a business trip, and at the end of the day, I could spread it around immediately. Which is the wrong answer? There's one wrong answer there. You're right. I said, and you have to listen, active listening is important. I said, tell me about a time. I didn't say, do you share information? Or what do you think about sharing information? And even when they say, what do you think about sharing information, and they're not specific, it's always better to give a scenario-based answer. Because what it says is that you know how to apply it. And in a scenario-based answer, you give more content and insight to who you are. So I always say when you're preparing for an interview, have at least 3 scenario-based answers that you have rehearsed that gives a view of your application of basic values and mannerisms that you can translate into that job. So the loaded questions. I love the loaded questions, and I call them loaded questions because they always seem so easy, but really they have a lot of meaning behind them. Tell me about yourself. How many of you love this question? Yeah? This is a loaded question. It's usually the question that starts the interview, but that's what tells us in 5 minutes whether you're the person. Tell me about yourself. And I love it when I say, tell me about yourself, and people start regurgitating their CV to me. Dude, I have the CV in front of me. Tell me something. Tell me something else. Tell me what motivates you, what excites you. How did you even get into this career in the first place? Right? When people say, tell me about yourself, I say, well, I'm really passionate about what I do. I'm married, I have kids, I never put that in my CV. And I say, I never put that in my CV. I say, I'm married, I have kids. And the way I say I have kids is I say, I have 2 boys. And then I pause, and they say, how old are they? I wait for them to ask me. And I go, well, I have one that is 9 going on 13, and I have the other one that's 7 going on 18. It's a joke, because he's a 7-year-old, but he behaves like he's 18, and the 9-year-old behaves like he's 12. I break the ice. We laugh, we giggle, there's a connection. And then I go, you know what, I actually stumbled into my role as HR by mistake. I actually went to university and studied law. And then I realized that I couldn't do that, and here I am. But what a remarkable accident that was. I really love what I do. Right? That's what you do. That's how you sell it. That's tell me about yourself. You break the ice. Don't regurgitate your CV. And share something that's not on your CV as well. Something interesting, insightful. It could be like, oh, you know what, in my spare time, sometimes I knit. One of the stories I like to tell during my CVs, I say, I have a passion for knitting. And I'm like, oh, my first son was born prematurely, so I remember the days of sitting in Skaboo, and I used to knit hats for all the premature babies in Skaboo. It shows I have social responsibility. It shows I have empathy. Right? You make a connection. You say something that's not on your CV that makes you human and relatable. Make sense? The other loaded question, three strengths. What are the three strengths you have? A lot of people say, I'm honest, I'm punctual. It goes without saying, the job is 9 to 5. I expect you to be there 9 to 5. Your punctuality, the fact you have to bring that up right now is an issue then, right? So, what are your strengths? Figure out what those three strengths are, but ensure the strengths are relevant to the role, right? So, look at the role you're applying for, three strengths. If your three strengths do not relate to the job we're sitting and talking about, why are we talking? Literally, why are we having this conversation? Because if those are your three strengths and they're not applicable to this position, then we might as well call it a day, right? Make sure they are relevant to the job at hand. And then three weaknesses. Ensure that when you share your weaknesses, a lot of people get scared about this one, but you can turn this into a really powerful tool in you getting that job if you know how to do this. Ensure that whatever weaknesses you choose, you give an example of how you are working on one of those weaknesses and how that is now becoming a silent strength for you. What that does, it shows that you have perspective. Everybody has a conscious and unconscious bias. It is very powerful when you understand what your unconscious bias is. It flips it into a strength. So the fact that you here is one of my weaknesses, and I have been working hard on this one for the last 12 months. Here is what I've done to turn it around. And actually, my boss actually said they were quite impressed with what I was doing with that. It shows you're open to feedback, but it also shows you're self-reflective. But you're not gonna know how to answer it on the spot if you don't know it beforehand and practice. But this is why we ask those questions. I'm giving you the cheat sheet. So, in summary, I love quotes. I call the first one the procrastinator's quote because people just say the first part, not the second part. Rome was not built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. This is a brick in your journey to develop yourself. So you're laying the bricks every hour. Personal branding, it's not about you. It's about putting a stamp on value you deliver to others. So your personal branding, as you think of your brand statement, is what value do I want people to take from me when they see me? Think about the 30 seconds in the lift with someone who can give you that career and opportunity you need. Can you articulate the value you bring in 30 seconds? By failing to prepare, you prepare to fail. That is the rule for your CV, the interview, everything else. It takes prep. If you have 5 interviews in one day, you prepare for all 5. I remember when I was doing 5, 6 interviews a day, I prepared for all of them. There was one I really wanted, but I put 100% into every single one of them. I did the research, I did the work, I did the looking into the company. And always remember, job interviews are like blind dates. First impressions count, awkwardness occurs, the outcome is unpredictable. And I want to say thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I hope this has given you the information you need to impact in your next job hunt.
We have a few minutes for questions. So if you have questions in your heart about job interviews, she will be able to take them. Number 1, very fast. Anyone? Okay, sir. Can we have a second mic?
Good day, madam. I have a question. No, I'm from Nigeria, and back home, I'm working as a mechanical profession. I worked over 15 years back home, where I came to UAE. I was just 3 years in UAE. but I have been some interview. When I came, I got a job, but after some year, 1.5 years, I cancelled. But I went to interview. The first day I got the interview, as well, I say talk about the first time you said that the dress code and also the exposure how they interview. The first day when I came to the interview, the person in the board of manager told me that I need to draw with overall. So why I draw with a suit or those things? But I told him that we many of us come with a different aspect, different department. But I didn't want to quit my as I need to wear a suit. I need to be wear a casual dress like that. I told him it doesn't matter. But what I want in the interview, my package will determine what the input I want to give to the company. The guy said that no, but here's not a banking. How can you dress this way? But I want to make a point of view that as a profession, can we dress that okay, you are engineering, you are working as a banker, can we dress as a professional job, or we dress as we like as a to make us to prefer the job we're looking for?
So that's a good question. So when you're in that kind of situation, the answer is not to justify why you're dressing that way. And by saying that, well, because it's an interview, different companies dress different ways. When you're put in that kind of situation, and to be honest, there's a formal dress code, and some companies want something different. When you're put in that situation, what you say is that I wanted to bring my best foot forward today. And I promise that when I get the job, I will adhere to whatever dress codes are practiced here. I wanted to put my best foot forward. I wanted to make an impression. That's it. Because at that point in time, there's no justifying or defending it. And if the guy is asking you questions about it 3 times, you've already lost that job. So at that point in time, you want him more than he wants you. So it is, I really wanted to make an impression. I wanted to put my best foot forward. And when I get the job, I will adhere to the dress codes of the company. Okay?
Thank you so much. Moses, my name from Uganda. Moses is my name from Uganda. I'm currently working. I've been puzzled with just one question. I run a department in hotel management. I'm not into HR, but I've sat many times to interview staffs. I really want to get this answer straight today. I've been fixed in a situation whereby the applicant is not worth for the job. And personally, I feel it's hard telling them, you don't deserve this job. What are the right procedures or the right choice of words one could tell a candidate who has really failed the interview? Because it's not really, I feel it's not right telling them on the face. It's not right. So I need your help.
So here is, and thank you for that question. That's a very difficult one that a lot of managers struggle with. I always tell people, be kind, be gentle. Pick one thing about the candidate. Everybody cannot be all bad or all wrong. Pick one thing about the candidate during the interview that you liked. And if you want to give it to them face to face, so I'm guessing in your organization, as you interview, if the candidate isn't right, you're encouraged to give them face to face and let them know they're not next to the next phase. And all you say is, wow, I love your passion, I love your energy. You came across as someone who really wants to give their best in this role. Unfortunately, right now we're looking for someone with a different skill set, but we'll keep you in mind and come back to you if anything else comes up. That's it. Be good, be kind, be gentle. Right? Find one thing about that person that stood out. It could be an example they gave in the questioning. Say, you know what, that really reflected and resonated with me. That would stay in my mind. Right now, we're looking for a different skill set, and I'm sorry you don't fit it, but we'll have you in record. Good luck with your search. Hope you find a job soon. That's it. Any other questions?
I have a question again. You said that if I want to get another new job, and the board of interview asking that, okay, why you left your former company, and you said that we should not make comment that, oh, because the salary is then very small. If I'm now I want to leave a company that, okay, they pay me like 3,000 dirham, and I get a job 6,000 dirham. Along the line, I need to leave. But you make comment that you don't need to leave. That, okay, you don't need to tell the new company that, oh, not because of salary you want to live there, but I want to live there because of salary. So how the social bank I want to say over there?
So here's what you say to that. There are two things you can say. If the job has more responsibility than the old job, you say because the job has more responsibility. If the job has exactly the same, you say, I am excited to work for a company like yours. I read about you on the internet. And the things you guys are doing, I think I can learn. Just the way of learning how you're doing things differently from my current employer is what excites me. You never tell them you're leaving for money, because one day you'll leave them for money too. So what you're telling me when you say you're leaving for a salary is that when a higher salary comes, you're going to leave. I'm going to invest in your training, your development, and then someone's going to take it because they offer a higher paycheck. It's not a right answer. At a senior level, you can afford to do that. So at my level, if I want to leave and it's because of money, I can say it's because of money. I'm not building my career, it's built. Right? So I can have different reasons for leaving. Money's not a motivator for me, but if it was, I could do that at this level. At the level where you're building, you can't afford to say it's because of money.
Hello, my name is Folaju. I would like to know what are the ideal questions you can ask your interviewers, and as well, if you are asked for a salary figure, is it ideal to give a figure?
So I'm going to start with the first one. I said have questions to ask your interviewer. And the right questions to ask your interviewer should be, one, what is the current team like? Who am I going to be reporting to? How many people are on the team? It shows that you're thinking about the job and how you fit in there, right? Two, ask about the company. What are your values? What training opportunities do you give? Is there career progression? Do you promote people? It shows that you're thinking longer term. And three, when do you want me to start? Yeah? It shows you're confident. When do you want to fill this position? You can also ask why you're looking for this position. Why did you put this position out there? Is it a new position? Did you fire the old person? And if they said they let the old person go, and you can go, okay, why? So you understand the mistakes you don't have to repeat. But if you're confident enough and if your banter with the person has been good, you can always tell when you click with someone. You can go, how soon can I start? Oh, and then you also asked if they ask for salary, right? That's a tricky one. They always do, that's a tricky one. The rule I tell people is if they ask for salary, even if you want a mock-up, what is an acceptable mock-up is 15 to 20%. Because certain companies might actually ask you for your pay slip. So certain companies, when you mock up too high, they go, can you give me a pay stub? Now, legally, you don't have to do that because that is a confidential property. But if you don't give them the pay stub, then they might not give you the job because it might show deceit. So whatever mock-up you want to do, you can be honest about it. You can do a mock-up, just make sure it's not more. There's an averaged 15 to 20% marginal error that we allow. But anything like that, and then you bring it to me and I see there's a 50% difference, that's not a mistake, right? So you're the one who's going to know how to get that balance right, just based on that situation, the company, and where you are in the interview stage.
I just want to add to that point about salary because it's a very tricky one. I've been in that situation before. The position they could pay as high as 8,000, but while I was applying, I was thinking it's about 3,005. So, but luckily I got somebody in the company that told me, look, when you get there, you have to be strong. Tell them 10,000. I said they will send me back, they will not do my visa. I was so desperate that even if they give me 2,005, I will take it then. But he said, no, be strong. You are a BSc. You have this, you have that. Tell them 10,000. But when they are talking to you, watch, there is one short woman, she's the manager. Immediately, if you see her face is becoming too cooperate with her, whatever she has. So like she said, you have to research the company very well before you go in. If you can talk to one messenger or somebody in that company to let you know who is the key person that makes decision. So when that person that makes decision, if they ask you, how much do you want? If you mention 8,000 and you see that his face is looking, and you tell them, okay, I can manage at least maybe 6,000, 5,000. You can start, playing around with the figure.
Yeah, but there's the difference between salary expectations. You can expect whatever you want, right? But when they ask you what is your current salary, that's where I'm saying that you only do a 15 to 20% markup. But if they say, what are your salary expectations? Your expectations can be to the roof. It's an expectation, right? But when they're asking you, what is your current salary? Do not do a markup of more than 15 to 20%.
Okay, you put something here about a career versus a job. Yes. Yeah, you give an example here about career versus a job. Okay, in a situation that you really want a career, but you find yourself inside a job, what are you going to do?
Good. You work on the job and use the resources from the job to fund your career. But you work that job like it's a career. I remember when I used to do odd jobs. I would wake up, I would be dedicated. I worked in a shoe shop and I was a specialist as measuring old people's feet. And the funny thing was, every Thursday, that's when they collected their pension money. So they'd come into the shop, but nobody wanted to serve the old people. And I just saw it, you know what, if nobody's gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it. So I started to do it. I'll banter with them, I'll chat with them. All of a sudden, every Thursday, I had a line of old people coming in to buy shoes. Then I started selling the handbags with the shoes and placing the handbags next to the shoes and saying, how about this shoe with this handbag and this and that and that and that and that? You'd have thought I wanted to be a sales associate for the rest of my life. Every job is a stepping stone to a career, whether it gives you the finances to be able to fund what you need to do as your career, or it gives you an insight in terms of how to behave when you finally get that career. When you've started at the bottom, when you get to the top, you know how to respect people that are starting at the bottom. So everything is a learning opportunity. It either gives you the funds you need to fund into a career, or it gives you an opportunity to earn a living while you're trying to build your career, right? I mean, I have my life partner here. We all did odd jobs. I have my brother-in-law here as well. We all started our career doing odd jobs. We didn't just get out of university and boom, we got the graduate job. No, doesn't work that way sometimes, right?
Okay, thank you so much, Nina. You said something about the gap between your jobs, and most of us, like when I started, I don't take volunteer jobs because there's no money attached to it. You know, but later in life, I realized if I'd done that volunteer job, it will be helpful for me at this point. So, what is the importance of volunteer jobs? I just asked this question because I know Africans as a whole, we don't do volunteer jobs. We just because it doesn't pay actually. So, what is the importance of volunteer jobs, especially if you're building your career?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And you know, I'm always passionate about volunteering and people giving their time. So the importance of a volunteer job, and I can even link it to asking about the career and what happens while you have a job, while you have a career, or while you're trying to build a career. You volunteer. And by volunteering, I mean there might be people in church that are starting their businesses. There are charities out there that need someone to come and work with them on the weekend on spreadsheets and accounting. You know, you always wanted to be an accountant, but right now you need a job, so you're working in security. But nobody's gonna hire you as an accountant while you're working in security, let's be honest. So what you do is you find someone who's willing to give you a chance to work in their firm or in a charitable organization or in a company on the weekends, or you know someone, a friend, family friend, whatever it is that's starting a business and you just want to help them with their financing. The beauty about that is you're getting the experience you need that you can put on your CV because they can say, yes, this person did this for me. And if it's a charitable organization, it's more powerful. A lot of people feel that that is working for free. It's not for free. The experience is invaluable. It's an apprenticeship, for lack of a better word. It's not free. Because that person is taking a risk at allowing you mess up their information. They are giving you an opportunity. So if you tell that person, I'm going to do it every Friday between 2 and 5, you show up at 1:45, you leave there at 5:30. You give your all because it's a privilege for them to let you do that. You're not doing them a favor because at the end of the day, you're going to put that on your CV. Who gains from it? Who gains from it longer term? Thank you for asking that. One more question at the back.
All right, ma, thank you. I need more clarification on this volunteer job. We are in UAE now, and we understand the nature of job we do here. Many of us are laborers, but down there we are graduates. Okay. So maybe you are working for 4 hours, 10 hours, the case may be, and you are working from Saturday to Thursday. Then where will you create the chance to do the volunteer job in order to attach it to your CV?
So I'm going to answer that. I'm going to answer that for you. The question is, how badly do you want it? Sorry, that's my answer to you. How badly do you want it? My husband at one point was doing 2 jobs in 2 countries. He was meant to be doing one as a consultant. He had a consulting job Monday to Friday in the UK, and he had a contract in Sweden. Luckily for him, the UK contract allowed him to work from home. We had a goal. We needed to raise money quickly for something. So my husband, on a Sunday night, would pack his bag with his computer for his UK job, fly to Sweden, check into the office, that was a 4-day-a-week job, log into the system doing that job while still doing the other job in the UK. How badly do you want it? I have a full-time job right now. and Harrison sees me a lot of times. I come back from work, my husband is working on a different set of things. I come home, usually from work at 8:30. I have dinner, I kiss the kids goodnight. I'm sat in the office till 2:30 in the morning to wake up to get ready to go to work again for 8:30 the next day. How badly do you want it? In that case, if you ask me, you just want a job, you don't want a career, understand where you are in the continuum and stay, right? But if you want to shift comes with you working for it, doesn't fall on your lap. You have to sacrifice to get. How badly do you want it? There was a time I had 3 jobs going, including making hair and cooking for people on the weekends to get money to be able to fund something else. How badly do you want it? If you want it badly enough, you make the time, you find the time, you make it work. Okay?
Thank you so much, Ma. I just want to ask about your opinion on somebody looking for a job, went for an interview. Is it right or wrong to ask for a feedback? Maybe after you finish the interview, they say, okay, we'll call back, we'll get back to you. Is it proper for you to, maybe after 1 or 2 days or a few weeks, to call back the interviewer? I just want to find out about the status of my interview.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's okay for you to ask for feedback. I've known interview processes sometimes, particularly when we're looking for a particular role, that has taken 2 months. It doesn't mean we've discarded those we interviewed before. We just have a high pool of candidates that we want to see. So it's okay for you to ask. Remember, it's a 2-way relationship. And the way you have to look at it, you don't have to look at it as a submissive relationship. You have to look at it as, I'm bringing my talent, you're paying for my talent, right? It's not a submissive relationship. I'm bringing something to the table, you're paying for that. And that's another thing I have to say, that even the way you walk into the interview matters. You walk into an interview already feeling defeatist and feeling put in a corner, you've lost that job, right? So feel free to go back to them and say, be polite. Hey, good afternoon. We chatted 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard anything back. Is the process still going on? Not, I haven't heard anything back. You said you were going to come back to me. No. I haven't heard anything back. Is the process still going on? Am I still in the process? Be polite. That's it.
Sorry.
There's more questions in this session.
My name is Olamide. I'm from Nigeria. So, actually, I would have loved to ask my question in Yoruba, but not everyone understands that. So, my questions they varies actually. So, I would say number one is it everyone that can be a career man, career woman? And then at what point do you feel like, okay, I need to exit this job, I need to quit this job, I want to build my career? And then what are those things that you have observed? I mean, maybe you have started noticing like about yourself, like this, yeah, I have this, I can be a career man with this, I can be a career woman with this. And then what are those things you do to sustain that career? Some career starts and then maybe at a midpoint it just ends like that. So what are those things you do? How do you build yourself to sustain the career?
Okay, there were about 4 questions in there. I'll start with the first one. Is it everybody that should have a career? No. It's the one thing I say. And to be honest, it's not bad. It really isn't. Some people are cut out for a job, and a job is 9 to 5. I don't want to kill myself. I just want to come in, do the job, go, end of the month, get my paycheck, don't want a promotion. Or if I get a promotion, it's because of the money. I don't want the additional responsibility. I don't see this going that far. That is fine. Absolutely fine. The important thing is knowing whether you want a career or you want a job. And to be honest, what really drives that is sometimes where your passion lies, and we have many, many different passions. So for me, what made this the perfect career, because I didn't start my career in HR. I started it in payroll, which is a phenomenon considering I was bad at maths in school. But when you need a job, you need a job. You find out that that brain that was asleep wakes up, right? My sister-in-law told me about this thing called payroll. I always say my sister-in-law is one of the smartest women I know. She's smart, she's plugged in. She told me about this thing called payroll, told me to go and learn about it. I did, I got a job. And I needed the job because I needed the money, that was a job. Now, in that job, I got to see HR, and I've always been a people person. I was social prefect in school. I always used to worry about people, how do they feel, how can I make them feel better, how can I empower them? And then I discovered HR, a career by accident. But it tied to a passion I had already, right? My passion about trying to talk people, get them out, talk to them about their problems, how do we empower together? I've always been that kind of person. So HR found me through a job, right? But not everybody will have a job. I'm passionate about knitting, but I'm not gonna quit my job to go home and start knitting, right? But I love knitting. But that's something totally different. But not everybody's meant to have a career. Just figure out which one it is. And sometimes a job pays pretty good money as well. I'm not saying that because you want a job, you stay in a low income situation. You can grow that job into a high income situation. You're just not gonna make the same sacrifices that people make for a career. Now, the second question you asked me was, at what point do you leave to do the job to chase your career? Unless you've got enough money in the bank to pay your bills in Dubai, you never leave a job. That's the reality of it. You have to figure out a way where you're still working that job and then trying to build that career. And maybe when you figure out the career you want, maybe it's doing certifications, maybe it's going back to school, maybe it's attending seminars and stuff to learn more about that situation, whatever that is. You use your job to fund it. Because you still need to survive, you still need to pay bills. And Dubai doesn't play with that. You need to pay your bills, right? So you get a job, then you figure out what your career is. Nobody can tell you what that is. You discover it yourself. There isn't a magic pill. I can't look at you and say, you should be an accountant. No. Which is a mistake a lot of happens in secondary schools in Nigeria. Oh, you know maths, accounting. You can talk, law. Oh, you like physics, chemistry, biology, doctor. None of us ended up doing any of that. So it shows that it doesn't work. So you need to figure out what that career is for you. But don't leave the job on the career, just make sure you have a source of income. And if the source of income is, okay, I'm leaving the job, I'm running a business to sustain me while I'm doing X, Y, Z, that's fine. But it has to be sustainable. One last question.
Please, ma'am, I just want to know, working in a company and wanting to switch to another company, when you talked of the interview, right? Is it proper for you to open up to your new interviewer the maltreatment you went through to the previous company?
So, here is my answer to you on that. No. Because the grass is always greener. It always seems greener on the other side. You're not sure what situation you're getting into. So for all some of those practices that they were doing in the other company were standard practices. But more importantly, in an interview stage, we haven't even hired you and you're bad-mouthing the other company. You're spoiling the brand. So the answer to that is no. Because in an interviewer stage, you don't know if they do some of those things and then they're gonna go, oh my gosh, we hire her, she leaves us to another company. This is how she's gonna kill our brand. right? So you don't do that. The answer is no. If they ask you, why are you leaving? You're like, and if it's because of those kind of things, you say, you know what, your values align more to the kind of person I am as a company. I went on the internet, I read your values, and that's why it's always very important to do that research. You know, when I said research the company, it's for situations like this. Because it doesn't seem like you're just telling smoke and mirrors. I went on your website, your value says this. For that particular value really touched my heart, and I really feel that this is my next home. Make sense? Okay. With that, I say thank you, everyone.
Should we be upstanding? Thank you, Nina, for having time with us. We hope to see more of you. And to every one of you for coming to, thank you. And also to the Church RCCG event, who are the sponsor for this program. We say thank you, and to God making us alive. Have a wonderful day, everyone.